Hey guys, it's me, Mrs. Heimer. You are hearing my voice. I'm out of the classroom today because my daughter is sick, but I know that you're on your best behavior and that you are representing our class the way it needs to be represented. I want to do just a quick review with you over what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we started taking our notes over Columbus. And we started on the book that we read that was over the voyage of Columbus in his own words. It was in his own words because you'll remember that it was written like a journal entry. On the cover of the ship, the cover of the book, you're going to see the three boats that Columbus was in. He had the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The largest boat was the Santa Maria, which Columbus started out on. And the Nina was the smallest and the fastest. And then I'm just pointing to a boat like I'm pretending that these are what? I'm going to pretend that this is the Santa Maria. How about the Nina and the Pinta? We started off with the big picture of the map of the what we'll call the Old World. So this is what the world they thought looked like at that time. Remember, they thought the world was, or some people considered the world to be flat, so that they would even sail off and just fall off into nowhere if they sailed off over here. They also had lots of fears about different monsters in the water that might get them, and a lot of different like fables and made-up stories about those things happening. Remember that Columbus was born in Italy, and when he was born there, he also went and moved to Portugal for a while, and he spent a lot of his life actually in Portugal. He actually went to Portugal first and asked them if they would help fund his expedition to get to the Far East, which was India. And he was trying to get to India because he knew that there was lots of spices and silks and other riches that they couldn't find in this part of Europe that they were in. So he first went to Portugal. He also and they said no. And he went to England, and they said no. He went to France, and they said no. And he also finally ended up at Spain, and he went to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and he asked them if they would fund the mission. And they originally said no. He came back to them later, and they decided to go ahead and fund or give him money. They said that he could have 3 ships. He could have the money to fund his voyage, and they also gave him 90 men, so to be a part of his crew in the voyage. So Columbus thought that he would try sailing west, which would be this way, and according to this map, he would just fall off, instead of traveling across the land, which took a lot of manpower. They had to cross over mountains. It was dangerous. Or instead of actually sailing all the way around, which took a lot of time and could also be pretty dangerous. So Columbus thought if he would just sail from Spain here, he would actually end up in India. But you'll notice in this map, North America is missing. So you're actually missing North America and South America, where the United States are. So this was that map that we looked at just briefly yesterday. We also talked about his ships. Remember the 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. We looked at there's different flaps. You could see inside. There's the men inside with all of their food and stuff. There's a big bowl of water. There's some more men. Look at all their storage. They're getting ready to pack up to leave. You can see the other ship that's being hoisted up into the water after it's being built. You can see the different sails. So we started off with the voyage beginning, and when they talked about the voyage beginning, they left on the 3rd of August, and they after they left, they were looking to go ahead and sail out, and they had a pretty good start. Things were going pretty smooth until later on the rudder for the Pinta, which we learned was the smallest ship. Actually, not the Pinta. The Pinta was the ship that we didn't have anything about. It was just the middle ship. The Pinta, actually, its rudder, which is used for directions and which way it would sail, its rudder broke, and so they were actually stranded, it said, for almost a month while it was being prepared. While they were there, that volcano erupted. There's our volcano erupting over there. And it made the men feel like it was a bad omen, that something bad was going to happen to them. So they became really superstitious and thought that they'd made a bad decision in going, and they should all just go home. Columbus really tried to keep his sailors excited about the voyage and tried to keep them motivated to keep going. Later on, once they finally, after that month where they got the Pinta finally running, they later saw a meteor, and up here is our meteor spinning. Whoa! And you can see the meteor going through. And it actually landed in the water in the ocean. It doesn't land in the ocean in my book. It just keeps on spinning until it's the night sky again. But the men thought that that was a bad omen also. They became really discouraged. But Columbus kept on wanting to push on. Life on board the ship was pretty difficult at times. This is where we're going to pick up. Some of you got to hear, especially my first class, got to hear this part. See the man coming out of the bottom of the ship. We're going to listen to that and follow along with the book. If you will just be patient. I want to see listening ears as we continue on.
History records that America was discovered by Christopher Columbus on October 12, 1492. On the eve of the 500th anniversary of the discovery of America, Sears is proud to present The Voyage of Columbus in his own words, translated from the journals he kept of his great adventure.
And
now, read along.
Just like in class, sometimes I'm not always ready, and I have to fast forward through part of it. So right now, I'm going to just go over the couple of notes that we already had written. This is my copy of my notes. Up at the top, we had Christopher Columbus. And that the first note that we took was, and you can have your notes out and be following along with me. That would be a great idea. It was Columbus was born in 1451 in Genoa, Italy. So he was born in Italy.
Of August, the rudder of the Caravel Pinta has become unshaped. I am much disturbed at not
Almost
being
there,
able to
so I'm
help
just going
her.
to fast forward just a little bit more.
Would come. Columbus wrote, having taken in water, wood, and meat,
And
I
then,
finally made sail on Thursday, the 6th of September,
just a little bit more.
and shaped
I know you're laughing at me right now. It's completely okay.
right on. Twice the crew thought they saw land. Twice they were mistaken. When they sank a line to see how deep the water was,
That's where we need
they
to be.
couldn't touch bottom. On the they got alarmed.
Oh, here we go. There's that bell.
The days dragged on. Twice the crew thought they saw land. Twice they were mistaken. When they sank a line to see how deep the water was, they couldn't touch bottom. On the 7th day of October, Columbus wrote,
we passed a great number of birds flying to the southwest. Perhaps they are going to sleep on land. Since most of the islands held by the Portuguese were discovered by the flight of birds, I resolved to shape a course west-southwest too.
Still, no land was found. In Columbus's day, sailors used very simple tools to navigate. The astrolabe was used to sight the sun or the North Star.
Here's
and
the
figure out
astrolabe.
how far north or south the ship was. Pincers were used for marking off each day's journey on a map. Columbus made 2 charts during his trip. One showed the distance that he told the crew they had traveled. The other showed the real distance. The compass showed which way was north. By keeping the needle on the same mark,
Columbus.
pilots could steer in a straight path. A typical day aboard ship
Here's the
included
line dropping.
climbing the rigging, rolling up the sails, catching fish to eat, cooking food on board ship, sleeping on deck. Thursday, the 11th of October, brought hope.
The Pinta saw a pole, which appeared to have been
I'm
worked
going to
with
turn the
iron.
page.
Also, a land plant and a small board. We saw sandpipers and a green reed. The crew of the Nina also saw signs of land, and everyone rejoiced.
See, they're all really super
At 2 hours
excited.
after midnight, land was sighted at a distance of 2 leagues. We shortened sail, waiting for daylight. On Friday, October 12th, we arrived at a small island called, in the language of the Indians, Guanahani.
After 33 days at sea, Columbus had finally reached the New World. Today, experts know that Columbus's Guanahani was located somewhere in the Bahamas, but disagree on the exact island. It might have been Watling Island, Samana Cay, or even Grand Turk.
On October 12th, I went on shore in the armed boat and took the royal standard. We saw green trees and much water.
The
and
royal
fruits.
standards, their
Presently, we
flag.
saw people. I gave some of the people red caps and glass beads to put round their necks, so that we might form great friendship.
There's the red caps and the glass
They
beads
came
and
to the
cups.
ship's boats, swimming, and bringing us parrots, cotton threads, darts, and many other things, and exchanged them for the articles that we gave them. They
Pumpkins.
seemed very intelligent.
They saw
for I
iguanas. They got
observed that they quickly
cassava
took
bread.
in what was said of them. Some came to the
Corn.
ship in small canoes made out of
The
trunk
conch
of a
shell,
tree,
like you listen to the ocean in.
all of one piece. Some hold 40
And-
to 45 men.
The hutia.
Others are only large enough to hold 1 man.
Columbus not only discovered...
So what he was saying is that their ships came out
animals,
and that they could hold
inventions as
40,
well,
some of them could
which
hold
he
up to
brought
40
over
men,
to Spain.
some could only hold 1.
These included pumpkins, Indian corn, and cassava bread. Hammocks were quickly adopted as a sailor shipboard bed. Also discovered were iguanas, conchs, parrots, and giant rodents called hutias. Soon Columbus had to sail on in search of the mainland he was sure lay just over the horizon. He found many islands and many friendly villages.
Both the people and the lands are in such quantity that I know not how to write it. All here have a loving manner and gentle speech. Their houses and villages are pretty, each with a chief who acts as their judge and who is obeyed by them. When I left to go, the people, men, women, and children, cried out to me not to go, but to remain with them. A better race there cannot be.
On Christmas Eve, 1492, when Columbus was asleep, the Santa Maria ran aground. The ship was dismantled and the wood used to build a fort. Some 39 to 42 men stayed at the fort when the Nina and the Pinta sailed away. All had died by the time Columbus returned a year later. Columbus headed home on January 16, 1493, sailing the Nina. Terrible storms followed him all the way back, and he and the Pinta were separated at sea. Amazingly enough, both ships sailed into the port of Palos, Spain on March 15, 1493.